The Spanish Empire was vast. It stretched across the globe. From the Americas to Asia, Spain's influence was felt. Africa was also part of this empire. Spain's presence in Africa might be less known. However, it played a significant role in shaping history. Spain's interest in Africa began in the 15th century. Explorers sought new routes to the east. This led them to the coast of Africa. Trade was a major motivator. Spain saw the potential for gold, ivory, and other resources. This marked the beginning of Spain's long and complex relationship with Africa. It is a history full of exploration, conquest, and cultural exchange. The Canary Islands, off the coast of Africa, were Spain's first venture. They served as a stepping stone. From there, explorers like Alvar Núñez de Balboa ventured further. Balboa crossed the Isthmus of Panama. In doing so, he became the first European to see the Pacific Ocean from the Americas. Other explorers followed, mapping the African coastline. These voyages were not without their dangers. Sailors faced storms, disease, and hostile natives, yet they brought back valuable information. They reported on the land, the people, and the potential riches. This fueled Spain's desire to establish a presence in Africa. It was a period of discovery and ambition. Spain's initial presence in Africa was focused on islands and coastal areas. The Canary Islands became a base for further exploration. Spain also established outposts on the mainland. These included places like Ceuta and Melilla in North Africa. These outposts served strategic purposes. They helped control trade routes and provided a base for further expansion. Spain's control over these territories was not unchallenged. There were frequent conflicts with local populations. Despite these challenges, Spain held on to these territories for centuries. They became an important part of Spain's global empire. Spain's arrival in Africa had a profound impact on local societies. The Spanish brought their language, religion, and culture. This led to both conflict and exchange. One of the most significant impacts was the slave trade. Spain played a major role in the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Africans were forcibly taken to the Americas. This had a devastating effect on African societies, tearing communities apart and disrupting economies. However, it is also important to remember that many Africans resisted Spanish influence. They fought back against Spanish rule and preserved their own traditions. Section 5. Battles and Treaties. Key events in Spanish Africa. Spain's time in Africa was marked by conflict and negotiation. Battles were fought and treaties were signed. One key event was the conquest of the Canary Islands. The native Guanches people fiercely resisted Spanish rule. The conquest took nearly a century and resulted in the displacement and assimilation of the Guanches. Another significant event was the signing of the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494. This treaty divided the world between Spain and Portugal. It gave Spain control over most of the Americas but limited its access to Africa. This treaty shaped the course of European colonialism. It also had a lasting impact on the relationship between Spain and Portugal. Section 6. Shifting Sands, the decline of Spanish power. Spain's dominance in Africa began to wane in the 17th century. Other European powers like England and France were rising in strength. They challenged Spain's control over trade routes and territories. Internally, Spain faced economic problems and political instability. This further weakened its hold on its colonies. The Napoleonic Wars in the early 19th century dealt a further blow to Spain's empire. Spain lost control of many of its colonies during this period. While it retained some territories in Africa, its influence was greatly diminished. Section 7. Independence and after the legacy of Spanish rule. The 20th century saw the rise of independence movements across Africa. Spain's remaining colonies, including Equatorial Guinea and Western Sahara, eventually gained their independence. The legacy of Spanish rule is complex and contested. In some places, Spanish influence can be seen in language, architecture, and culture. In others, the memory of colonialism is still a source of resentment. It is important to remember that the history of Spanish Africa is not just about conquest and colonialism. It is also a story of cultural exchange, adaptation, and resistance. Section 8, Cultural Connections, Enduring Ties between Spain and Africa. Despite the end of colonial rule, Spain and Africa remain connected. There are strong cultural ties. This is evident in music, food, and language. Many Africans migrated to Spain in the 20th and 21st centuries. They brought their own cultures and traditions. This has further enriched Spanish society. Today, Spain plays an active role in promoting development in Africa. It is a reflection of the historical ties between the two regions. Section 9, Conclusion. Remembering Spain's African history. The history of the Spanish Empire in Africa is a complex and often overlooked chapter in world history. From the early explorations to the eventual decline of its power, Spain's presence in Africa had a profound impact on both continents. Remembering this history is crucial for understanding the cultural exchange, the conflicts, and the enduring legacies that shape our world today. It is a history that deserves to be told and understood.